Well, harsh criticism of President Obama's daughters has cost a senior Republican staffer her job. Elizabeth Loughton's comments that Malia and Sasha Obama should, quote, try showing a little class, as you can imagine, caused a firestorm of criticism on social media over the weekend. Loughton had taken to Facebook to scold the teenagers for the way they were dressing, how they looked at each other during Wednesday's turkey pardoning ceremony, which they attended with their father.
The very solemn, I might add, state event, the turkey pardoning ceremony, which requires immense decorum. Part of Loughton's post says, quote, dress like you deserve respect, not a spot at the bar. Let that sink in. Certainly don't make faces during televised public events. Loughton tells CNN she will resign today from her job as communications director for Congressman Stephen Fincher of Tennessee.
Communications director. Sorry, just need to underline that.
I want to bring in our senior media correspondent, Brian Stelter, host of CNN's Reliable Sources. You know, Brian, people like to say there's an unspoken rule. You don't criticize the children of politicians. It's not really unspoken. Everyone speaks it frequently. People talk about it all the time on both sides of the aisle here. Kids are off limits in politics. That's almost always the case here.
Because they didn't choose to run for office. Their parents did. Sasha and Malia didn't choose to live in the White House. I'm sure there's some days they wish they didn't.
Maybe Turkey Pardoning Day was among them.
One of them.
I don't know how us would have reacted to being there with our parents.
Well,
so that's always something to keep in.
But we were joking about the fact they didn't look like they were having a good time. That is a far cry. That is a far cry from what this communications director posted on her Facebook page.
Absolutely.
And to your point, Michaela, the fact that this person, her job is to do PR, is to speak to the public and speak to the press, I think underlined how awkward this was.
Well, and so one of the things that everybody has sort of come out and said, this is just, it's unacceptable what she said. Has the GOP responded, though?
There has been some response, and I was really interested in what Sean Spicer, the head of the RNC, the Republican National Committee's PR operation, said yesterday. He rebuked what Elizabeth Loughton said, but then he also said this, and we can put it up on screen. While the comments were inappropriate and insensitive, the mainstream media's coverage of this story is appalling. In over 20 years in politics, I've never seen one of the countless inappropriate comments by Democrats ever covered to a fraction of this. Sean and I have debated this before about whether Republicans who say foolish things or insensitive things get more attention than Democrats. I think sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong. I think in this case, this was about a slow news cycle. There was sort of a void of stuff to talk about over the weekend. It's got a lot of attention online, on Twitter and Facebook, and then spread to the mainstream news media. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I do think there's something to be said, though, for the fact that this was a relatively obscure woman. This wasn't John Boehner's chief of staff or something.
But that's the thing here. I mean, without getting into political relativism over who can say what and who gets criticized for saying what, it's not like John Boehner was saying this. It's not like Mitch McConnell was saying this. Is a communications director for a congressman that many people outside of Tennessee haven't heard of.
No, I mispronounced his name the first time I said the guy's name on TV over the weekend. You know, this Facebook post she put up on Thanksgiving was barely even noticed until an African-American website, The Root, noticed it, wrote about it, and then it went viral. So, you know, it doesn't explain away the comments, but it puts them into context.
But it also, there's context and then there's context. I mean, the fact is we're talking about this in a time where there is an active effort to counter cyberbullying. And that's essentially what this comes down to. These are two teenage girls. This is a woman, I don't know how old she is, but she's a grown-up who takes to Facebook, which is generally a medium of the younger generation, and is setting quite a terrible example by essentially just being mean.
Right. And then she said in her apology, after many hours of prayer, she concluded it was wrong, and she took it back and apologized. I don't want to say anything disrespectful about her religious beliefs, but I'm not even sure why there were hours of prayer necessary to know it was wrong.
Your gut should tell you.
Yeah, it's something about that. Your gut should tell you. And to me, it's striking, taking away Sasha and Malia for a moment, it's striking how natural it is on the right to criticize the parents, to criticize the Obamas the way she did, to go after them so naturally as if it just kind of flows off the fingers. It shows how polarized we are in this last 2 years of the Obama administration.
She essentially said they don't respect
the office or the nation. And then from there, it is pretty easy to go that one step further and talk about the daughters in a way that was very inappropriate.
Well, now this communications director, who never probably had an impact nationally before, has resigned.
I will predict she'll get work somewhere else in the coming years. That's almost always how it works out, right?
Brian Stelter, great to have you here with us. Appreciate it.
Ahead here, the University of Virginia